Canastracci here. Yes, I'm back. I'm back drinking a Peroni. That's Italian for Peroni. And I need it. That's my second Peroni of this afternoon. Why did I need it, you're asking? Well, because I was celebrating. Yes, I was celebrating. Not on my behalf, but on the behalf of Hackney Diamonds. Because today, officially, Hackney Diamonds is no longer the worst Rolling Stones album. Yes, good on you, Hackney Diamonds. You've moved up one notch. Yes, one notch higher than the album I'm about to talk about. What's this album called again? Let me look. Foreign Tongues. Okay, so this is the amount of respect I gave Foreign Tongues, all right? I had a feeling this album was going to be bad. Why? Well, if you saw my review I did of Hackney Diamonds, you know I'm not a fan of post-Charlie Watts Rolling Stones. That's what I'm going to call this era. Post-Charlie Watts Rolling Stones. Or Andrew Watt era Rolling Stones. Although, a little more on Andrew Watt in a second. But yeah, I did not care for Hackney Diamonds. It was probably my most negative review I ever post on YouTube. Usually I'm a pretty positive cat for the most part, and a huge Rolling Stones fan. Oh, well, a fan of the pre-post Charlie Watts Rolling Stones, which could also be referred to as the Charlie Watts era Rolling Stones. Yeah, so, that was a great band. That was one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. This band, if you want to even call it a band, is not the greatest rock and roll band of all time. One might even say they're one of the worst bands. It's amazing how just losing one drummer suddenly made them one of the worst bands of all time. But hey, that happens sometimes. Jimmy Page was hip to this. This is why he did the right thing by breaking up Led Zeppelin after John Bonham died. He was just like, hey, we're just going to become a shittier, lesser Led Zeppelin without Bonzo. So let's wrap it up. Class act. Unlike these bozos. Yeah, fucking Mick Jagger, Keith Richards. Yeah, I'm counting you too, Mr. Richards. And well, that's it. That's them. I mean, Ronnie Wood doesn't have a say in any of this. So it's those two guys. Those are the two assholes that have ruined the greatest rock and roll band of all time. So yeah, okay, I'm going to give it straight. I was blaming a lot of this on Andrew Watt. And if you see my Paul McCartney, Boys of Dungeon Lane review, you know that I actually have backed off on some of my Andrew Watt hate. I was too hard on the guy in that Hackney Diamond review. I made it sound like it was all his fault. And yeah, he's not the greatest producer on the planet, not by a long shot. But he does all right if he's working with a really talented musician and producer like Paul McCartney. Apparently, in that scenario, Andrew Watt can actually co-produce a good album. Because I like that album a lot. I thought it was a really good album, and I still think it's a good album. Wouldn't say great, but good, and a lot better than this piece of shit. Okay, so I got blame. I'm mainly blaming Mick Jagger, right? Because this is essentially just a glorified Mick Jagger pop solo album that Keith Richards is like contractually obligated to come on and play some songs and do his one token Keith song and put his name there, here and there. Does a little bit guitar riffage here and there, just enough. I'm sure it's just like literally the minimal amount that he is contractually obligated to make it a Rolling Stones album. Even though I think I was too hard on Andrew Watt, and I do not put the blame on him. And in fact, this album doesn't sound quite as bad as the last one, but the songs are worst. So that's why it's worse, because songs matter. I don't know if Mick Jagger's aware of this, but yes, songs do matter. So anyway, Andrew Watt, though, he's still playing a lot of guitars on this album. Like, if you look at the Wikipedia, you see how many tracks. Like, I mean, yeah, he played some instruments with Paul McCartney, too, but like, Paul McCartney was just one guy. It was literally just him and Paul on the album. Like, Paul didn't have a whole band. And although Paul's a very good guitarist, he's not, like, known, like, that's not his main instrument. His main instrument's bass. So that doesn't bother me as much. It's like, yeah, Paul's working with another multi-instrumentalist collaborator on a solo album. He's a solo artist. But the Rolling Stones, they're supposed to be a band, like a band. And there's two fucking guitarists in that band. Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood. So, yeah, I'm not saying like maybe, hey, like when Jimmy Page played on like One More Hit to the Body, like, yeah, it's cool to occasionally get maybe one peer guest guitarist on like one track. That's all right. But when you have your producer, this young producer guy, relatively young anyway, recording guitar throughout the album on several tracks, yeah, that's highly sus. I just don't think you should be doing that. I mean, fucking Ronnie Wood and Keith Richards, you make millions of dollars like every fucking day. Earn that fucking money, you old fuckers. Yeah, play the fucking guitar. Don't have just Andrew Watt and his AI program do the guitar parts for you. That's your fucking job. That's why you get to ride on private jets everywhere. All right? That's why you didn't have to lift your finger to do anything in your whole goddamn life since you were in your 20s. Is because you are a professional guitarist. That is your job. Do your fucking job, bozos. Yeah. So anyway, so I wasn't gonna buy this album because I hated Hackney Diamonds so much. Although I thought this might be a little bit better or just as bad. I didn't think it was gonna be worse, but still, I knew it wasn't gonna be good enough that I would want to buy it or have it like in my iTunes. Cause I would, oh, God forbid, if one of these songs came up on a rock shuffle, that would that would fuck up the shuffle. So no, I ain't buying this shit. To me, the Stones discography ends on that blues cover album. That's the last thing. That's the last real Rolling Stones album. This is Scab Stones. This ain't real Stones. So it ain't going in my real iTunes music library. So I already heard, I heard that fucking shitty song, In Stars, more on that later. And I saw that shitty video, more on that later. So I already knew, yeah, this is more of the same, but maybe even worse. So I knew I wasn't buying it. So what I did was, just right now, for the first time, this Sunday afternoon, this is hot off the presses, I listened to Foreign Tongues on Spotify. You ain't getting my money, bozos. You ain't getting my money, fake Stones. So I listened to this album, this horrible, horrible album on Spotify, and I had to get a little drunk while listening to it. It's long, too. God, longer than it should be. I mean, hell, this wouldn't even be a good EP. Whoa! Oh, shit. Yeah, sorry about that. My Peroni start to fizz over. Guess I shook it or something. That's a liability of being an Italian American that talks with your hands a lot. Is sometimes you shake up the Peroni while you're making a YouTube video and it almost spills all over your brand new, very expensive MacBook Pro. Yeah, but it didn't. So it's all right. We're still operating like professionals. Okay, so I listened to Spotify. I listened to this album one time. And that's the only time I'm ever going to listen to this album. I made notes because I knew some of these songs I'm never going to listen to again. That's something I normally don't do. I don't normally take notes because usually I talk about stuff that I know so well because I've listened to it many, many times. But this one I had to take some notes. All right, so let's go through the tracks. Rough and Twisted. All right, this is the hard rock and blues opening. This is the song that's supposed to let you know this is going to be the real Rolling Stones. And it is one of the stronger tracks on the album. That's not saying much, but yeah, this is probably the second or third best track on the album. But to me, this is fake, tough sounding blues. Well, okay, let's just get right out and talk about Steve Jordan. Okay, not a fan. Yeah, I don't like Steve Jordan's drumming. All right, and I know people got on my case about this in the comments of my Hackney Diamonds review. They were like, "Hey, don't you know that Charlie Watts handpicked Steve Jordan? That he picked him to be his replacement?" Yeah, listen, I love Charlie Watts. I made a tribute video for him. And yeah, I think the Rolling Stones, without him, they've turned to shit. And I think he was a class act and a top bloke. I love Charlie Watts. That being said, even Charlie Watts, even the great Charlie Watts, is not infallible. Yeah, sometimes you can make a mistake. He made a mistake. Steve Jordan has been convincing white people for years that he's a good, soulful drummer. Well, no, he's horrible. He plays some fucking honky white boy shit. Yeah, he's always been doing that. He was in this band called the Blues Brothers. But the Blues Brothers were a joke SNL band. Yeah, some people don't know this. Some people think they're like a real blues band. They're not. The movie, very funny. I love the Blues Brothers. Very funny movie. And yeah, I know that some of the musicians in the Blues Brothers were legit Stax musicians and all that shit. But still, listen to the original Stax recordings instead of that corny ass SNL white boy shit. It sucks. Yeah, funny movie, but the Blues Brothers are a joke fucking band. So this drummer, Steve Jordan, was the drummer in a joke fucking white boy blues band. Yeah. And then he played with SNL and David Letterman, real white boy shit. It's horrible. And that's how he plays. Fucking Charlie Watts has far more swing than this guy will ever have. He plays like a dickhead. Listen to him. He's just thumping away, thinking just because he's playing louder. I mean, that's the kind of shit Keith Richards, he's such a hypocritical cunt, that Keith Richards. Let me tell you why. Because all he does for fucking 30, 40 years is insult John Bonham and heavy metal and how he thinks it's all one big dumb bashing thump. Well, what do you call this? You get the old crusty gray dreadlocks out of your ears, Keith. This guy sucks, and he plays exactly the way you say you don't like rock drummers playing. And he should be playing like Charlie Watts if he was really good. I mean, that should be his job. When you're coming into a legacy act this late in the game, your job is just to replicate the style of the classic musician you are replacing. Take Stevie Young, for example. Stevie Young in AC/DC, his job is just to sound like Malcolm Young. And he does a great job at it. In fact, I wouldn't even know. If I didn't know, I'll be honest. As much as I love Malcolm Young, if you heard Black Ice and then you heard Rocker Bust and you shut your eyes, you tell me you would know that's a different rhythm guitarist? No, he fucking nails it. Stevie Young nails reproducing a Malcolm Young sound. And you know why he nails it? Because that's his job. Yeah, he's not a dickhead. He knows that's his job. That's his role, to respect his uncle and play those fucking guitar lines the way Malcolm would play them. And in fact, I'm sure that Angus also instructed him to do it. Yeah, it's a job. Angus is the boss and said, hey, play that guitar the way that Mal would play it. And Stevie goes, sure thing, Unc. And he does it. That's a fucking pro. That's a class act. But obviously, Mick Jagger does not tell Steve Jordan, play it like Charlie would. He doesn't do that because A, Steve Jordan couldn't do it. And B, Mick Jagger doesn't like Charlie Watts. He's glad he's dead. Yeah, I said it. You know why? Because as I bring up all the time, Charlie Watts once punched Mick Jagger in the face. Yeah, Mick Jagger was being a fucking diva cunt. Charlie Watts called him on it and punched him in the fucking face. Yeah, and said, you're my singer. Because that's how Charlie Watts rolled. That's why the Rolling Stones were so awesome with Charlie Watts. Because Mick Jagger was constantly living in the fear that Charlie Watts might punch him in the face again. Yeah, so he had to keep his cool. He saved the lame shit for his crappy solo albums. Because he knew that if he pissed off Charlie, he might get another fucking fist to the face. So back to Steve Jordan and Mick Jagger. He should be telling him to play like Charlie Watts, but he doesn't because, you know, he secretly always hated Charlie Watts because he knew he was the smarter, classier, more authentic guy who would punch him in the face if he ever caused him shit. Plus, Charlie, unlike Steve Jordan, actually had soul and swing. It's weird. 9 out of 10 times, the black player has more soul and swing. This is one of those rare cases where the white guy's got more swing. I mean, overall, listen, just sounds like generic hunky blues. It just does. What's more authentic than this fucking song and this whole fucking album and what's more real blues? Anthony Michael Hall, his character in Weird Science. Remember that scene when he goes into that black bar in Chicago and he gets drunk and starts talking like a pimp?
Yeah, you know, now here's the Kepler. You know what the bitch did to me?
Well, that motherfucker was more legit and more of the real blues than this fucking shit. Yeah, that motherfucker could emote.
Bitch need my nuts, bitch. I'm not playing with y'all either, man.
That's the real deal. Not these crackers. Yeah, so fuck it. They're Oreo drummer and the fucking old cracker asses that can barely go to the studio, and Mick Jagger fucking croaking like some fucking Don Knotts reject. It sucks, and yet it's one of the best songs on the album.
Yeah, that's the truth, baby. That's the clean truth.
Okay, In the Stars. Oh my God, is this song horrible? In the Stars is an embarrassment. Yeah, they got their like generic Andrew Watt, like with the AI program, got that generic Keith Richards sounding riff in the verse. But man, that chorus, Taylor Swift City. Yeah, here we go. The Swifties would love that chorus. That is some candy ass fucking pop shit. I hate that chorus. And that video. Oh my God, that horrible video, which proving that the Stones use AI because they used AI in the video. There you go. Proof that they're using AI. And they use it to create the young versions of the Stones because they're hiding their age. This whole album, this whole image of the Stones post Charlie Watts is all about hiding their age. You know, Mickey's got this 30-something girlfriend and these lyrics are like dumbed down shit for fucking teenage girls. And they wear sunglasses when they're out and they try to be cool. Oh, we're cool. The old guys trying to be cool. In that fucking video with them, the AI young Stones hiding their age, of course, with a bunch of fucking bullshit hipsters from Central Casting. And the AI, you know, because AI's like this, it's kind of wonky. He doesn't even get things right. Like, you know, the Keith doesn't even really look like Keith. And Ronnie Wood wasn't even in the Stones when he was that age. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. It's stupid shit. This is like the Force Awakens for fucking Rolling Stones. It's the Stones Awakens. It's bullshit Disney-fied shit. And if you like it, you like shitty music. Sorry, nothing against you. You might be an all right person. I'd even have a drink with you. But don't try to tell me this is a good album, because it's not. It's shit. Next. Oh, Jealous Lover. This shitty song. Okay. I got a problem with Mick Jagger's falsetto at this age in his life. Yeah. I think it's something that only a man who's maybe 50 or younger should be doing. I think once you're over 50, falsettos are, I think it's something unseemly about it. But especially if you can't do it anymore. I mean, God, they use auto-tune throughout this whole fucking album on his voice. It sounds more processed than a fucking Intel processor. And yet, the auto-tune couldn't fix his shitty off-key falsetto. God, how bad was this falsetto? How off-key was this that this is the closest it got? The auto-tune was like, shit. Close enough, I guess. It's laughable. He sounds really bad. It sounds like a parody. Now, to a degree, Mick was always borderline laughable with his falsetto. It was always borderline, in the late 70s when he started doing a lot, thinking he was like a soul singer, like he was in the Isley Brothers or some shit. He was always borderline, but he never quite crossed that line. Like, he just made it work. Like, Beast of Burden's a great example of this. And this is like Beast of Burden, but minus awesome plus suck. He's just not hitting it. He sounds like the R word. Yeah, I went there. He sounds like the R word. And you know the R word I'm talking about. And he fucking sounds like it. He sounds like a fucking R word. In the lyrics, Jealous Lover? Come on, this is fucking generic pop crap. In that video, another video where, no Stones. We can't see the Stones, can't see the old men making music. So we got two young, attractive models fighting outside a motel room, trying to get that youth market. Just compare it to Sir Paul McCartney or even Ringo Starr, who are presenting themselves as elder statesmen. You see them in their videos. They're not trying to hide, and they're not trying to act like they're not old men with a history and a legacy. More on that later. This is shit. It's beneath the Stones. It's laughable. It'd be laughable if it didn't make me want to cry. Mr. Charm. Oh my God. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse. God, this song sucks. Just the title alone. Mr. Charm? God. This sounds like a fucking shitty casino band that's trying to sound like the Rolling Stones. And did I mention how stupid the lyrics are throughout this album? Well, they're really stupid on this song too. Divine Intervention. Whoa, this might be the worst song yet, making it possibly the worst Rolling Stones song ever. Sounds like a reject of a reject of a rejected Some Girls song. Hell, there's a lot of Some Girls throughout this whole album. So obviously Andrew Watt likes Some Girls, or maybe Mick's 30-something-year-old girlfriend, because, it's kind of poppy and there's some disco-y kind of songs. So she probably likes that album. But that was made back when those Stones had Charlie Watts in them. And Mick Jagger knew if the album wasn't awesome, he might get a fist in the face. So as a result, Some Girls was awesome. A great album. But this is not. This is Some Girls, but if it was R word. Anyway, another one of these Swiftie-approved choruses. Oh my God, this is horrible. The lyrics are about like young people, scrappy young people without a lot of money, hustling and trying to make their dreams come true in LA. Give me a fucking break, Mick. Give me a fucking break. We know you can't deal with reality and your age and your history, and obviously your brain is checked out, so you can't talk about the world around you or what's going on or anything you've learned in life. Obviously, you've learned nothing. So this is just some nonsense, generic shit that tries to make you feel like you're young and you're still with it with the kids. You're going to die like everyone else. Keith seems aware of this, but, he's just checked out, so you're not going to get too much from him. But Mick seems like he's totally just in La La Land. He might as well just live in LA, live in La La Land, and be the crazy old kook acting like he's forever young. Forever young, Mick. There you go. Oh, and Steve Jordan, throwing a bunch of drum fills in a song in an attempt to make it sound like it has more energy and urgency than it really does is a dickhead move. Yeah, I hear what you're trying to do, Steve. Forget Charlie Watts. There are teenage drummers jacked on Mountain Dew that would play with more taste and restraint than this fucking clown. Ringing hollow. Well, that kind of sets it up, right? Yeah, well, yes, this song does ring hollow. Generic country song written by a bunch of old guys that have not stepped into a legit honky-tonk since Jimmy Carter was fucking president. Never Wanna Lose You. Oh my fucking God. This is a fucking disco song. Like disco. Like Disco Duck Disco. Like generic fucking disco. Not cool, smoky, atmospheric rock disco like Miss You. But no, this is less like any generic disco song that would be in a B grade 1979 or 1980 movie where they couldn't afford to get an A-list disco act on their soundtrack. So they'll just get some generic fucking band to do some shitty generic disco song. You heard it a lot during movies in that era. And this sounds like one of those songs. So essentially, this is the bad version of Miss You. This is like the bad generic version if it was created by people with no imagination, no sense of taste, and no musical chops. Yeah, that's this version. So it sucks. And this might be the worst Rolling Stones song ever. Hit me in the head. Hey, the drumming's actually good on this one. I was listening to this. I was like, hey, yeah, the drumming's actually not bad. Not bad, Steve. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. I looked it up. I said, hey, isn't one of these songs got Charlie Watts on it? And sure enough, I'm not lying. This really happened. I looked it up. I was like, yeah, that's Charlie. Yeah, that's why it sounds like the Rolling Stones, this song. Still not a good song. It'd be like a B-side from A Bigger Bang. But being a B-side on A Bigger Bang makes it the best song on this album. So yeah, this is the best song on the album because it actually sounds like the Stones. Stupid ass lyrics though, like the rest of the album. Yeah, Mick sounds like an R word. You know I'm no good. This is an Amy Winehouse cover. So yes, it's that song. It's the Amy Winehouse song. You know I'm no good. Must be Mick Jagger's 30-something girlfriend's favorite song. That would be my guess. Not a bad tune. The Amy Winehouse version. Yeah, that's not a bad tune. This is horrible. Sucks. Yeah, Mick sounds like a goddamn R word. Some of Us. This is the Token Keith song. And as Token Keith songs tend to be in the post-Charlie Watts era, they tend to be the better songs on the album. Yeah, this isn't so bad. It's not great. It's not as good as the Keith song on Hackney Diamonds, which I thought was actually a good song. It's the only good song on that album. I wouldn't go so far as say it's good, but it's not bad. It's just kind of there. It's all right. Keith actually does sing with some soul and some feelings. And even though the lyrics are fairly generic, they're not stupid. And there is the weight of emotion of a man who's like, aged. He's just singing like an old, salty dog and with some soul and some subtlety and restraint. So yeah, not bad. Not great. Be like a decent like bonus track on the Japanese edition of A Bigger Bang. Like, yeah, it's like that level. But yeah, so probably like the second best song on the album. Still not that great, but better than all the dumb shit Mick's doing. Covered in You. Is Mick having a stroke? As soon as I heard this and heard Mick's voice, I was worried. I was legitimately worried. I was about to call 911 and say, hey, someone help out Mick. I think he's having a stroke.
This boy talking about on the telephone.
Yeah, and he sounds this way throughout the whole song. Sounds like he's having a stroke. Even though it does have a groovy bass line, courtesy of Sir Paul McCartney, it's not enough to save this fucking shitty song. Pseudo white boy funk with another Swiftie-approved chorus. This might be the worst Stone song. Yeah, I think this is the worst Stone song. It's hard. There's a lot of candidates. That's another reason why this is worse than Hackney Diamonds. This has more candidates for worst Rolling Stones song ever than that shitty album did. God, this is fucking horrible. I'm becoming nostalgic for a time when Hackney Diamonds was the worst Rolling Stones album. Man, those were the days. Side Effects. Andrew Watt co-wrote this one and actually has some cool guitar playing on it. Yeah, he shouldn't be doing cool guitar playing on the Rolling Stones album. That should be Keith and Ronnie, but those old lazy fucking rich guys can't do it. So Andrew Watt, he has to pick up the slack here and actually do some cool noodling here. Not bad guitar work, Andrew. In fact, I'm going to come right out and say it. Andrew Watt, you're going to love this irony. Andrew Watt's the VIP of this album. Yeah, Andrew Watts, he's the only thing that made some of these songs somewhat bearable, some of his guitar work, because obviously Keith and Ronnie just don't have it anymore. So good on you, Andrew Watt. You are the greatest member of the Rolling Stones in the post-Charlie Watts era. Still, this song does suck, of course. But on this album, it's kind of like a mid-tier song. So a mid-tier song on Foreign Tongues is not good by any stretch of the imagination, but hey, It's something. Back in Your Life. This is a generic sissy ballad with generic sissy lyrics. Mick's just clearly not interested in writing anything thought-provoking or dealing with aging or any of these things. When you look at his peers, when you look at Paul McCartney, Dylan's the same way. There's a lot of older artists that haven't totally checked out that are expressing what it's like to be an artist aging. And it's just a sad missed opportunity because Mick Jagger at one time was a great lyricist. I think he was an incredibly underrated lyricist. I mean, fuck it. This guy wrote stuff like Sympathy for the Devil and No Expectations. You Can't Always Get What You Want. Paint It Black. Give Me Shelter. The guy that wrote all those lyrics, come on, and you're writing this fucking generic fucking shit? It's beneath you. It's insulting to the Stones' legacy. He should be ashamed of himself as he's rolling around having a stroke on his fucking bed of money. You should be ashamed, Mr. Mick Jagger. I'm not letting you off the hook. Beautiful Diela. This is a shitty cover of a great Chuck Berry song. Hey, a long time ago, the Rolling Stones used to do great covers of Chuck Berry songs, but that was a different band and a different time. Yes. Oh, by the way, this is also the last song on the album. And this is a thing they did on the last album where they had a rootsy cover, like a stripped down rootsy cover of a Muddy Waters song. So now we got a stripped down rootsy cover of a Chuck Berry song. Hey, I am falling for it. I know what you're trying to do, fake Stones. You're trying to make it seem like you're not fake. Like this is like you're an authentic band. Like you're still the authentic band you were back in the 60s. I think it's BS. It's not real. Yeah, sonically, they know how to reproduce the sound of the blues a bit. I would fucking hope so. They're the fucking Rolling Stones. They were the kings of cultural appropriation. I would hope that they would culturally appropriate effectively. So yeah, you got that. Okay, there. Good cultural appropriation, Rolling Stones. Probably the third or fourth best song on the album is this cover of a Chuck Berry song. Still, it sucks. And then there's a bonus track that I haven't heard that is the second song Charlie Watts played on. Yeah, it's Bad Luck Hideaway. But they made it only available on the iTunes version, and I can't find it on YouTube. So I guess I'm never listening to this song. Dick move, fake Stones. Not cool. Not cool. Anyway, so that's my review. That's my review of Foreign Tongues, an album I will never listen to again. Even Hackney Diamonds I listened to twice. Much better album than this, even though that at one time was the worst Rolling Stones album. But not anymore. This is, like I said at the top, the worst Rolling Stones album ever. And I'm not considering it a real Rolling Stones album. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry if you love it. Hey, that's great. Get on your dancing shoes, sing along to the Swiftie choruses. Girls just want to have fun. Right on. Not for me. And again, I apologize to the VIP of this album, Andrew Watt. Andrew Watt, you did a crackerjack job with Paul McCartney, a real artist, on his really good album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane. And I did a review of that. So if you haven't watched it, check out that review. And check out that album. That's a good album. Much better than this. Real artist. Paul McCartney totally owned the Stones. In fact, now I used to bounce between who's better, the Rolling Stones or the Beatles. But now it's clear the Beatles are better because one Beatle, just one old Beatle, is better than the collective of the Rolling Stones. I mean, yeah, it's just really Mick and Keith, but still, that's two of them. Paul doesn't have his songwriting partner. Paul's been on his own for a long time now. And yet, on his own, even without his songwriting partner, John Lennon, he just owned the songwriting team of Jagger and Richards. So that proves, mathematically, logically, it proves that the Beatles are better than the Rolling Stones. Because if one half of the songwriting team of the Beatles is owning the full songwriting team of the Stones, well, that's just science. That's just science. Also, you know who's better than the Stones these days? The Black Crowes. Yes, the Black Crowes. Their last two albums were much, much, much better and more Stonesy sounding than these two shitty albums that the fake Stones did. A Pound of Feathers. I loved it. I think that's a great album. And if you love like early 70s Exile Main Street Stones, like awesome Rolling Stones, like back when they were awesome, listen to that album and whoa, it wipes the floor with this shit. That's real rock and roll made by real rock and rollers, not poser shit like this stuff. I also reviewed that album. I reviewed that album on the Freeform Rock Podcast. I'm going to leave a link down below. Check that shit out. The Freeform Rock Podcast with the host, Mark Olden Taylor, Jerry Soupe, and the Mooger Fooger. I love those guys. I love being on their show. I've done a couple episodes. I did a U2 episode. I did a Beatles episode. So look up Freeform Rock Podcast. Type in Eddie Canistracci. I'm Eddie Canistracci when I do that podcast. because I'm drunk and being a damn fool. Definitely check out that episode that I'm linking you to, the Black Crowes review, so you could hear me actually gush over an album that's great, a real rock and roll album, that Black Crowes album. And that was a great podcast episode, and check it out. Have a drink. It's fun. It's a good time. So we had some fun here. I don't like doing negative reviews for the most part, but sometimes you got to do it. That's the job of a non-monetized YouTuber that just does this for fun. But yeah, that's my job. Yeah, hopefully they stop making albums. I don't want to have to do this again. I don't like having to insult the Rolling Stones for the sake of their younger versions that once existed. I'm not talking about the fake AI ones that they're parading around now. I mean the real ones back in the day. For their sake, and for the spirit of Charlie Watts and Brian Jones, for those guys, for those spirits that once walked this earth and made it a more awesome place, for those guys, I don't want to have to do this again. So stop it. Stop it, Mick. Stop having strokes and making albums. All right? I'm Eddie Canistracci, and I am out of here.